Welcome back to News Talk, 16 before the hour now. We hope you're having a great St. Patrick's Day. And if you're planning on celebrating with friends tonight, we hope you are certain to have a safe plan for getting home in one piece. Kurt Erickson is with the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, WRAP. They're the folks behind the Sober Ride program, the region's widely used program for getting people who've been drinking a safe way to get home. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Appreciate your time today. I know it's a busy day. Talk about what St. Patrick's Day represents as a day on the calendar for you all. You operate Sober Ride on a number of days during the year, but I'll bet St. Patrick's Day is without question among the busiest.
It is, and it needs to be, just for the fact that it's one of those holidays that really jumps into the annals of drunk driving holidays. Nearly 2/3 of all traffic fatalities on the hours immediately following St. Patrick's Day in this country. So from midnight tonight until 6 a.m. tomorrow, nearly 2/3 of all traffic deaths are caused by drunk drivers. So in addition to having police out in force throughout the greater Washington area trying to identify and apprehend drunk drivers through saturation patrols and sobriety checkpoints, we're offering an alternative, which you've already promoted, thank you, called Sober Ride, which is a free cab ride service that we've done since 1993.
Most people have heard of it if you've lived here. We're fortunate, I think, in the Washington region to have Sober Ride. Not every city does. For folks who haven't heard about it, give us the elevator speech on what this represents as an opportunity for people who should not be behind the wheel.
Oh, thank you. It's an alternative to drunk driving. I mean, it's a free cab ride service that will operate between 4 p.m. tonight, 4 p.m. today, St. Patrick's Day, all the way till 4 a.m. tomorrow. So not just till midnight, not just till 1 a.m., but actually 2 hours after the very last call in the District of Columbia, you can still avail yourself of this local life-saving service. 100% privately paid for. We work with 9 different cab companies around the Beltway. They're all accessed through 1-800-200-TAXI, T-A-X-I. You call that number, we'll dispatch the cab that's closest to you, we'll take you home. The restrictions are minimum 21 years of age to use the program, which is the legal drinking age in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and then we pay up to a $30 fare. But quite frankly, the average fare is less than $22, so it really does capture the majority of fares.
With the popularity of Uber, are people still do they still have Sober Ride on their radar for days like this?
You know, that's a great question. We've actually had a tremendous uptick in ridership of late. In our holiday campaign, which is probably the last time that I saw you, we had an uptick of 23% increased ridership. Halloween, 49% increase in ridership. July 4th before that, 48% increase in ridership. Even when Metro was closed, and you and I talked about that, not when Metro was closed, when Miller Coors, one of our Sober Ride sponsors, underwrote the hours of Metro between midnight and 3 a.m. on New Year's Day, that didn't seem to have the impact either. So people are utilizing the program. Again, it's only going to be as good as its use.
I want to talk about some of the bills that are being considered now by Maryland lawmakers in Annapolis. The legislation that has been called Noah's Law passed the House of Delegates unanimously. What would this law do, and what was your reaction to the vote?
Well, first of all, it's great news. And we jokingly were saying, you know, it's a small step for Maryland, but a large step for Maryland's Judiciary Committee, which this bill has never gotten out of. And it's interesting that once it actually got out of that committee after 7 or 8 years of trying, it had a unanimous vote on the House floor. So you can see that the blockade for this bill was getting it to the House floor. But once we got it to the House floor, it had a unanimous vote. What it does is, quite simply, it catches Maryland up. 25 states right now, including the majority around Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Delaware, all require ignition interlock devices for persons convicted of drunk driving in that state.
It's the device in
the car
that you blow into before the car.
Not only will it not allow you to start the car if you've been drinking, it's going to ask you to retest after you're going down the road. And if you fail a retest, it's going to alternate your lights flashing and your horn honking.
Oh, so you're not clear. It's not green light.
It's not a total green light at the stop sign to be able to try to be able to operate your car in perpetuity
while drinking.
Exactly. And so it's a proven effective technology. The states that have done this, and again, 25 states have had tremendous positive movement in terms of curbing drunk driving. 50 to 90% drop in DUI recidivism, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The states that have had it the longer, like Arizona and New Mexico, have seen 40 and 45% drops in alcohol-related traffic fatalities, respectively, because of these devices.
How many years were you working on the committee, the Maryland House Judiciary Committee, on this concept? Not to say identical bill year to year, but how many years have you been at this?
Yeah, Matt has been really Matt has been really carrying the majority of water on this, followed by RAP and AAA and certainly so many others. But they've had a bill introduced in House Judiciary for 7 or 8 years, and they've never been able to get it out of committee. In some years, most years, they've not had it even come up for a vote. And so that's what's frustrating. We knew that there was acceptance of this life-saving public policy if we could just get it to the House floor. The Senate would pass it, but we wanted to get it to the House floor. That actually happened last week. Not only did it get out of committee on a unanimous vote, it got to the House floor and got a unanimous vote. Now, it's not to say that there weren't some hiccups along the way. There was amendments that were taken in and then taken back out, and actually the Senate right now...
Criticized amendments.
Criticized amendments, and the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee, which is the equivalent of Judiciary on the other side of the street, is actually looking at strengthening the bill even further. So we may not be done yet, but I do expect something to be going to the governor before the day is out.
Why did it take the death of a police officer to get to this point?
You know, it's a shame. It's not just that, but there's a number of examples of personification of the issue. Certainly the death of Montgomery County police officer Noah Liotta really personified the issue where it hadn't been happened in that way before, and it was really captured the public sentiment on the issue. So too were the 2 Wooten High School seniors that were killed in a drunk driving crash in terms of personifying the issue to look at cracking down on parents that supply alcohol to kids.
Why did it take the death of a police officer seemingly to get a dynamite charge under the right seats?
We'll probably never know, but I don't think it's that alone. I think patience had worn thin on the issue. You've done a great job of showing Tom Manger, the chief of police in Montgomery County, verbally expressing his frustration with Maryland's laws. Maryland was losing ground. As I said, 25 states have this legislation. Maryland doesn't. It's really falling behind. By the way, this isn't new legislation. This was actually recommended by a governor's task force in Maryland in 2008. So nearly a decade ago, they recommended not just ignition interlocks, but ignition interlocks for first-time offenders. And unfortunately, I think there was a realization that, that whereas Maryland's deaths related to drunk driving have gone up and down, and the population has certainly changed over the last decade, what hasn't changed is the percentage of traffic deaths in this state that are still caused by drunk drivers is unchanged. It's 30%. It's virtually unchanged in the decade.
The perception, the fear among some observers of Maryland politics is that the committees that handle these bills, which are made up almost exclusively of attorneys, some of them derive the bulk of their income each year, or some of their income each year, handling drunk driving cases. So there might have been, if not what you would call a conflict of interest, then a reluctance to do what should have been done, given the advances in technology, and not yesterday or the day before, but a long time ago.
Well, and we've certainly talked about the conflict of interest in the past, and I think ultimately that's up to the voters. Quite frankly, it's also up to the Speaker's office in terms of the assignment of chairs, but I will tell you that the Speaker's office was very involved in this issue and adding some muscle where needed.
We have a minute left. Let's use that minute to talk about the other bills. I guess chief among them, and you picked the one that's most important from your perspective, but sanctions on parents who allow teens to drink alcohol in their home, would that be at the top of the list?
Oh, absolutely.
Where we're seeing what could be called progress?
Absolutely. If just for this reason being right now, that not only would it double the fines from $2,500 to $5,000 for parents that host teen drinking parties, but it would add a new element that we're hoping is a deterrent, which is the threat of jail, up to 1 year in jail in addition or in lieu of the fines, and I'm hoping that that has some resonance. That's already passed the Senate, again, unanimous vote. It just came out of House committee last night, and it'll be on the House floor, I'm assuming later this week, if not next week, as they go into crossover.
So for parents who think, my kids are going to drink, I can't stop them, they're safer drinking at home than somewhere else, we may be on the verge of a new day.
I think so. It's a new day in Maryland. I mean, I think that in that case, parents' hearts are in the right place, but their heads aren't. The life-ending consequences that can happen after underage drinking, as certainly was the case in June with the 2 Wooten High School students that were killed, is an example of that.
1-800-200-TAXI, the sober ride number. At what time do you open?
4 p.m. till 4 a.m.
Wow.
So 12 contiguous hours, anywhere in Montgomery, Prince George's County, anywhere in the district, Arlington, Fairfax, Eastern, Loudoun, or Prince William, through that number.
There's no reason for people who've been drinking and can't get home safely to be behind the wheel tonight or any night, particularly with sober ride open.
Free call, free service till 4 a.m.
Kurt Erickson of the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, as always, thank you very much.
Bruce.
We're back with a program note after this.